0:00 The helicopter had been grounded for 3 days. Not because of weather, not because of regulations, and not because 0:077 seconds anybody had forgotten how to fly it. The problem was much worse than that. Nobody knew why it wouldn't start. 0:15 seconds The aircraft sat alone on the private terminal tarmac beneath a gray morning sky. 0:22 seconds $18 million of engineering. 0:26 seconds Twin turbines. Executive configuration built by one of the most respected helicopter manufacturers in the world. 0:35 seconds And according to the people who built it, there was nothing left to try. 0:40 seconds Inside the terminal, Victoria Hart was running out of time. 0:46 seconds For 11 years, she had built Hart Capital from a regional investment firm into one of the fastest growing acquisition. 0:53 seconds Companies in the country. At noon, she was supposed to be 300 m away. A signed agreement waiting, a deal worth hundreds. 1:021 minute, 2 seconds off millions, the biggest acquisition of her career. And the helicopter she needed to get there was sitting. 1:091 minute, 9 seconds motionless on the tarmac while pilots, technicians, and manufacturer engineers searched for answers they could not find. 1:181 minute, 18 seconds 3 days, 3 separate diagnostic teams, 2 emergency consultations with the manufacturer. 271 minute, 27 seconds Every system had been tested, every fault code reviewed, every standard procedure exhausted. The helicopter still refused to start. 1:381 minute, 38 seconds The manufacturer's senior engineers were now on a live video conference. And for the first time since the problem began, nobody on the screen had a solution. 1:501 minute, 50 seconds Around them stood pilots, executives, maintenance crews, flight coordinators. 571 minute, 57 seconds Everyone waiting for somebody to say something useful. Nobody did. Then something happened that almost nobody. 2:052 minutes, 5 seconds noticed. A maintenance technician pushing a tool cart stopped walking. 2:102 minutes, 10 seconds That was all. He simply stopped. He looked through the terminal glass toward the helicopter and listened. Not to the 2:192 minutes, 19 seconds Engineers, not to the manufacturer, to the aircraft itself. 252 minutes, 25 seconds For 30 seconds, he stood there without moving. Then he slowly turned his head toward the video screen where the manufacturer engineers were speaking. 2:362 minutes, 36 seconds The expression on his face wasn't impressed. It wasn't intimidated. 2:412 minutes, 41 seconds And it wasn't surprised. It was the expression of a man who thought everybody in the room was looking in the wrong place. What happened next would 502 minutes, 50 seconds silence An entire terminal because less than 2 minutes later, the maintenance technician would identify. 2:572 minutes, 57 seconds The fault. 5 minutes later, the manufacturer would confirm he was right. 3:033 minutes, 3 seconds And before the day was over, Victoria Hart would discover that the quiet single father she had completely overlooked knew more about that helicopter than the people who built it. 143 minutes, 14 seconds But to understand how that happened, you have to go back much further than a private aviation terminal. Back before 3:223 minutes, 22 seconds The helicopters, before the acquisitions, before Victoria Hart. 3:293 minutes, 29 seconds Back to a workshop, a father, a son, and a lesson about machines that 3:363 minutes, 36 seconds would change the course of one man's life forever. 3:413 minutes, 41 seconds Ethan Cole woke at 5:23 without an alarm. He had not used one in years. 3:493 minutes, 49 seconds. Some habits stayed long after the reasons for them disappeared. 3:533 minutes, 53 seconds. For 13 years, he had worked in aviation engineering, where flights left before sunrise, and problems arrived whenever. 4:014 minutes, 1 second they wanted. His body had eventually stopped waiting for clocks to tell it when to wake up. The house was quiet. He 4:094 minutes, 9 seconds moved through the kitchen without turning on the overhead lights. Coffee first, then breakfast. Mia's oatmeal. 4:184 minutes, 18 seconds. Went on the stove at exactly the same temperature he used every morning. Too much heat made it thick. Too little made. 4:264 minutes, 26 seconds. Sit watery. She noticed the difference every time. The vitamins went beside the bowl. Orange juice in the short glass, never the tall one. 4:374 minutes, 37 seconds. That preference had been established when she was 6 years old, and had survived 3 birthdays, 2 house moves, and every attempt Ethan had made. 464 minutes, 46 seconds to convince her that the glasses were functionally identical. At 6:10, he knocked twice on her bedroom door. The door opened almost immediately. 4:574 minutes, 57 seconds. Mia appeared carrying the notebook. The notebook had become as permanent a part of her as her backpack. She recorded. 5:045 minutes, 4 seconds. Observations, questions, ideas, and conclusions with a seriousness that sometimes made adults uncomfortable because it forced them to realize how. 135 minutes, 13 seconds. Little attention they paid to the world around them. She sat at the table and opened it before touching her breakfast. 5:205 minutes, 20 seconds. Ethan smiled. Some mornings she wrote before she spoke. This morning she looked up first. There was something she. 5:275 minutes, 27 seconds. Wanted to know. Big job today. Ethan poured coffee. Routine inspection at the aviation terminal. 5:365 minutes, 36 seconds. Mia nodded. The helicopter place. The helicopter place. The fancy helicopter place. Ethan laughed. They're all fancy helicopters. 5:475 minutes, 47 seconds. She considered this. Then she wrote something. What did you write? Mia looked down at the notebook. 5:565 minutes, 56 seconds. Nothing important yet. That meant she would tell him later. She always did. 6:036 minutes, 3 seconds. The notebook wasn't private. It was patient. Information stayed there until she decided it was ready to leave. The 116 minutes, 11 seconds. Conversation drifted to school and homework, and the science project she had spent 3 weeks building from recycled. 6:186 minutes, 18 seconds. Cardboard, and an amount of glue that Ethan suspected violated several engineering principles. At 7:15, he. 6:276 minutes, 27 seconds. Drove her to school. The route never changed. 3 traffic lights, 1. 6:356 minutes, 35 seconds. Railroad crossing, 2 right turns, a small bakery that always smelled better than it had any. 416 minutes, 41 seconds. Right to. Halfway there, Mia asked the kind of question that usually appeared without warning. Dad. Yeah. If somebody. 6:516 minutes, 51 seconds. Knows something important and nobody asks them about it, should they still tell people? 6:586 minutes, 58 seconds. Ethan glanced at her. Depends on what? 7:027 minutes, 2 seconds. Whether the information matters. She looked out the window. What if it matters a lot? Then yes. What if nobody? 7:107 minutes, 10 seconds wants to hear it? Ethan thought for a moment. Then he said something his own father had told him many years earlier. 7:197 minutes, 19 seconds. Usually that's when it matters the most. Mia nodded. No follow-up question. 7:267 minutes, 26 seconds, which meant she had received the answer she was looking for. He dropped her at school, watched her disappear through. 7:337 minutes, 33 seconds the entrance, then drove toward the workshop. The aviation maintenance facility sat on the edge of the city. 7:407 minutes, 40 seconds beside a small private airport. Most people imagined aircraft maintenance as a world of giant hangars and expensive. 7:487 minutes, 48 seconds machines. That part was true. What they rarely imagined was the amount of observation involved. 7:567 minutes, 56 seconds machines spoke constantly, not with words, with vibrations, temperatures, patterns, tiny changes. 8:068 minutes, 6 seconds. The trick was learning which changes mattered. The workshop Ethan worked from occupied the oldest hangar on the 8:138 minutes, 13 seconds property. Inside, the walls were lined with tools, manuals, inspection records. 8:208 minutes, 20 seconds and decades of accumulated mechanical experience. 8:248 minutes, 24 seconds. Above Ethan's workbench hung a small card. The card had been there so long that nobody remembered when he first put 8:328 minutes, 32 seconds it up. Most people stopped noticing it after a week. Ethan never did. The card contained only one sentence. 8:438 minutes, 43 seconds. Machines always tell the truth. The sentence had belonged to his father first. His father had spent 32 years. 8:538 minutes, 53 seconds maintaining aircraft engines for a regional airline. He had believed that every machine revealed exactly what was 9:009 minutes wrong with it. The problem was never the machine. The problem was whether the person looking at it knew how to listen. 9:089 minutes, 8 seconds. Ethan had grown up around that idea long before he understood helicopters, long before he understood engineering. Long. 9:179 minutes, 17 seconds before he understood anything about aviation, he had learned that attention was a skill. And like every skill, it 9:259 minutes, 25 seconds improved when practiced. Most people looked, very few people observed, most people listened, very few people heard. 9:369 minutes, 36 seconds. That difference had shaped the course of his entire life. 9:409 minutes, 40 seconds. It had taken him from apprentice technician to one of the most respected rotor system engineers in the industry. 9:479 minutes, 47 seconds. It had helped him solve problems other engineers could not solve. And eventually it had brought him to a place where some of the largest aircraft. 9:559 minutes, 55 seconds. Manufacturers in the world knew his name. But that had been another life. 10:0210 minutes, 2 seconds before loss, before Mia, before the choices that changed everything. On Tuesday morning, none of that mattered. 10:12 minutes, 12 seconds. At least not yet. Ethan grabbed his inspection tablet, signed out a set of diagnostic equipment, and headed toward 10:20 minutes, 20 seconds. The private aviation terminal. A few miles away, an $18 million helicopter. 10:27 minutes, 27 seconds. Sat motionless on a tarmac. The people responsible for fixing it were already running out of answers. And before the 10:36 minutes, 36 seconds day was over, Ethan Cole would hear something they had missed, something that would change everything. 10:42 10 minutes, 42 seconds. Victoria Hart did not become the CEO of Hartwell Energy by making emotional decisions. 10:50 10 minutes, 50 seconds. She built the company the same way she built everything else in her life, methodically, aggressively, without wasting time. 5,910 minutes, 59 seconds. At 42, she oversaw one of the fastest growing energy infrastructure companies in the country. More than 3,000. 11:07:11 minutes, 7 seconds. Employees, operations across 6 states, acquisition negotiations happening almost constantly. Time to Victoria was 11:17 11 minutes, 17 seconds. Not an abstract concept. It was an asset. And like every asset, it was managed carefully, which was why Tuesday. 11:26 11 minutes, 26 seconds. Morning had become such a problem. She was supposed to be in Denver by noon. A private meeting, a potential. 11:33 11 minutes, 33 seconds. Acquisition, months of negotiations, a deal large enough to change the trajectory of the company's next decade. 11:41 11 minutes, 41 seconds. The helicopter was supposed to leave at 8:30. At 8:28, it refused to start, not. 11:48 11 minutes, 48 seconds. Failed dramatically. Not smoke, not sparks, not visible damage. The startup. 5,511 minutes, 55 second sequence simply stopped again and again and again. The aircraft systems powered. 12:0312 minutes, 3 seconds normally. The displays worked. The diagnostics appeared clean. The engine control systems reported no critical. 12:11 12 minutes, 11 seconds. Faults. Yet, every attempt to start the aircraft ended exactly the same way. 12:17 12 minutes, 17 seconds. Failure. The helicopter sat motionless on the tarmac while engineers worked around it. The aircraft itself was a 2,612 minutes, 26 seconds. Flagship executive transport helicopter worth nearly $18 million. 12:32 12 minutes, 32 seconds. One of the most advanced civilian rotorcraft ever produced. Built by one of the largest aviation manufacturers in 12:39 12 minutes, 39 seconds. The world, Victoria had purchased it because reliability was one of its defining selling points. This was not supposed to happen. Especially not today. 5,212 minutes, 52 seconds. Especially not when the manufacturer had already spent 4 days trying to solve it. 12:57 12 minutes, 57 seconds. That part was what irritated Victoria most. Not the failure itself. 13:0313 minutes, 3 seconds. Machines failed. Everything eventually failed. 13:0813 minutes, 8 seconds. The problem was that nobody seemed capable of explaining why. 13:1313 minutes, 13 seconds. 3 manufacturer specialists had flown in from Texas. 2 senior avionics engineers had joined remotely. 13:22 13 minutes, 22 seconds. The aircraft's entire diagnostic history had been reviewed. Every standard troubleshooting procedure had been. 13:28 13 minutes, 28 seconds. Completed. Every software update had been verified. Every subsystem had been inspected. Nothing explained the 13:37 13 minutes, 37 seconds problem. The helicopter simply refused to start. And every hour that passed increased the cost of that refusal. 4,713 minutes, 47 seconds. Victoria stood beside the aircraft with her arms crossed. She watched the lead manufacturer representative close. 13:54 13 minutes, 54 seconds. Another diagnostic panel. His expression told her what she already knew before he spoke. They still had nothing. The 14:0314 minutes, 3 seconds engineer removed his headset. We verified every major system. Victoria. 14:0914 minutes, 9 seconds waited. The engineer hesitated. Never a good sign. We may need additional support from the factory. 14:1814 minutes, 18 seconds. Victoria, the helicopter manufacturer, was the factory. The people already standing around her represented the 14:2514 minutes, 25 seconds highest level of support available. The realization irritated her immediately. 14:3214 minutes, 32 seconds. You're telling me the people who built it don't know what's wrong with it? 14:3614 minutes, 36 seconds. The engineer maintained professional composure. We're still investigating. 14:4214 minutes, 42 seconds. That was not an answer. It was the professional version of not having one. 14:4714 minutes, 47 seconds. Victoria looked at the helicopter, then back at him. How long? The engineer paused. That pause was longer than she liked. Another day, possibly two. 15:0015 minutes. Victoria laughed once, not because anything was funny, because sometimes disbelief expressed itself that way. 2. 15:0815 minutes, 8 seconds. Days. The engineer said nothing, which confirmed everything. The acquisition meeting would happen before that. 15:1715 minutes, 17 seconds. The opportunity would not wait. The schedule would not wait. The market would not wait. Nothing important ever waited. 15:2615 minutes, 26 seconds. A phone rang. Another executive asking for updates. Another problem requiring attention. 15:3415 minutes, 34 seconds. Another reminder that the morning was slipping away. She ended the call and looked toward the terminal. Employees. 15:4215 minutes, 42 seconds. Moved between hangars. Technicians carried equipment. Ground crews crossed the tarmac. Everyone appeared busy. 15:4915 minutes, 49 seconds. Nobody appeared useful. Victoria hated feeling trapped. And for the first time in years, she felt exactly that. The helicopter sat 10 feet away. Perfect. 16:0216 minutes, 2 seconds. Expensive, motionless. A machine designed to eliminate delays had become the source of one. She turned away. Keep. 16:10:16 minutes, 10 seconds. Working. The manufacturer engineers nodded. What else could they do? They had already spent 4 days chasing a fault they could not identify. 16:21:16 minutes, 21 seconds. Another hour wouldn't matter. Another day might not matter. The aircraft wasn't getting fixed anytime soon. 16:29:16 minutes, 29 seconds. Victoria started walking toward the terminal building. Inside, conference rooms waited. Lawyers waited. Board. 3,816 minutes, 38 seconds. Members waited. Problems waited. At least those were problems she could solve. Behind her, the helicopter. 16:46:16 minutes, 46 seconds. Remained silent. Ahead of her, an ordinary maintenance technician was walking across the airport carrying a 16:53:16 minutes, 53 seconds. Diagnostic case. Victoria didn't notice him. The manufacturer engineers didn't. 17:0017 minutes. Notice him. Nobody noticed him. Not yet, because nobody knew that the answer to a 17:0617 minutes, 6 seconds 4-day mystery was about to walk directly past the aircraft. And that in less than 2 minutes, one man would hear. 17:15:17 minutes, 15 seconds. Something the manufacturer had completely missed. The man's name was Ethan Brooks. Most people at Hartwell. 17:24 17 minutes, 24 seconds Aviation Services knew him as the quiet maintenance technician who worked the early shifts. He was 38 years old, a 17. 3,217 minutes, 32 seconds single father, usually first to arrive, usually last to leave. The kind of employee most executives never noticed. 17:40 17 minutes, 40 seconds because nothing around him ever seemed to break. He preferred it that way. 17:45 17 minutes, 45 seconds attention rarely improved machinery. It usually just interrupted the work. Ethan crossed the tarmac carrying a black. 17:53 17 minutes, 53 seconds diagnostic case toward Hangar 3. He had been assigned a routine inspection on a charter aircraft parked on the opposite. 18:01 minutes, 1 second side of the field. Nothing urgent, nothing dramatic, just another ordinary Tuesday morning. 18:09 minutes, 9 seconds then he heard the helicopter, not saw it, heard it. The sound reached him before the aircraft came into view. 18:19 18 minutes, 19 seconds most people would have ignored it. The startup sequence had become background noise after 4 days. Engineers had heard. 2,718 minutes, 27 seconds it hundreds of times. Technicians had heard it hundreds of times. The manufacturer specialists had heard it. 18:35 18 minutes, 35 seconds hundreds of times. Nobody heard anything useful. 18:39 18 minutes, 39 seconds Ethan slowed his pace. The startup sequence ended. Failure. Silence. His. 18:46 18 minutes, 46 seconds eyes moved toward the helicopter. A second attempt began. The turbine starter engaged. System cycled. The sequence progressed. Then stopped. 5,818 minutes, 58 seconds failure again. Ethan stopped walking. He listened. A third attempt began. The 19:0419 minutes, 4 seconds same result, the same shutdown, the same silence afterward. He stood still for several seconds, not diagnosing, not. 19:14 19 minutes, 14 seconds guessing, listening. A habit developed across 20 years of aviation maintenance. His father had been an aircraft mechanic. 2,319 minutes, 23 seconds the kind who believed machines communicated continuously if people stopped talking long enough to hear them. 19:30 19 minutes, 30 seconds Ethan had grown up around hangars, around engines, around men who diagnosed problems through observation before. 19:38 19 minutes, 38 seconds computers became responsible for most of it. He had learned modern systems, modern diagnostics.